Alright, what's going on everyone? I have been waiting for days because I haven't had time to actually record to open my Bloomburrow packs here on Magic Arena. This is the pre-order bundle thing with a few extra packs that I've earned. These have been sitting here tormenting me for days. So, here's the thing. I don't know too much about what's in the set right now. All I know is I have played against the Bats deck exactly once, and I loved it, and I want to open the Bats. I have played exactly 5 games in the new standard. I went 1-4. It's been rough, but Bats, it was really cool. So let's open these and find some Bats. Our first one, it's right here, right? Ready? Bam, dang, so close. That's an otter. It's not a bat. I mean, if we gave it wings, no, it still wouldn't be a bat. So I don't know what's good. I haven't been playing standard. Oh man, I've been so addicted to Marvel Snap recently. They've been doing a lot of stuff that's just getting me hooked, and it's scary because whenever a game digs that deep, you start feeling like it's a full-time job. So, like, I don't know if I'm going to still like it in a couple months, but right now I'm just full-on playing Marvel Snap constantly. But, so I don't know too much about this set. If a lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1. Seems more like a draft card. Because are you going to have these are they calling them kin now instead of tribes? I don't know, but don't know if that's going to be viable and constructed. I've seen people playing this, but I don't want to read it. Don't want to. So far, we have not seen any bats. I'm very upset about it. Yeah, this is the fancy one that's in one of the starter kits. Sure. Not what I'm looking for. Looking for bats. Here it is, ready. Wait, Frogmite? Wait, what's my rare? Wait, it replaced my rare? What? That can't be how that's supposed to work, is it? A special guest replaces your rare, so I got a mythic Frogmite? Dude, that's pretty lame, actually. Frogmite's a common. I mean, I know technically it's a mythic because it's in this extra slot, but surely that's not how that's supposed to work. I want to go to my collection really quick to see if I got another card there that didn't display. If I didn't, that's super lame. Just looking for rares. Yeah, we saw that one. We saw this one. Saw that one. Wow, that was my rare in that pack. That is not cool. I did not know that. Wait, no, we saw that one. Yeah, that was my rare. Don't like that. Don't like that the special guest replaces the rare. That's not... I don't think that's intentional. That's not how it's ever worked in any other set, has it? But opening a Frogmite as my rare doesn't feel good. I'd much rather have this frog. I mean, I like Frogmite as someone who's played Affinity a lot. It's a cool card, just not what I want in my rare slot. We'll see if that happens again, I guess. But that seems wrong. If that's a mistake, I really hope Wizards of the Coast does something to like compensate people who bought a bunch of packs and got kind of ripped off. That card was something that I've seen in bat decks, but I didn't. I moved away too fast. But yeah, it's a thing. There's no dual land cycle in this, is there? Which is weird. We just lost a bunch of dual lands and we didn't get a replacement. Choose a color, add an amount of mana of that color equal to the number of creatures you control of the chosen type. That sounds very... Well, it still taps for colorless, right? So it taps for colorless, but it's like almost a Nykthos, but for creatures. So it's not going to be as crazy as Nykthos, right? Because one creature that has like 3 green pips adds 3, whereas this, I mean, it's usually not going to tap for more than maybe 4 or 5. Unless you're playing a token deck, then it gets nutty. Interesting. Yeah, there's no dual land cycle, so dual color decks are going to be hurting. This has been played a lot, I know, so that's a good pool. Probably want to play that. I've seen the mouse decks are very aggressive, which is kind of cool. Squirrels, 2 mana 2/2 adds a mana. Forage, I don't know what that means. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. You can add 2 mana, so it adds 2 in the late game. You can search your library for a squirrel card. Okay. I mean, it's a mana dork, right? That's fine. Totally fine. 2 mana 2/2 adds mana is not terrible. Look at all that text that I'm not reading. Not gonna do it. You can't make me. Can't make me. I'm not going to. Thundertrap Trainer. That's also a lot of text. I will say I'm so happy we have a fantasy, like a traditional high fantasy set. The whole, oh no, it's not dual land. Add colorless, sacrifice a token, draw a card, pay 1 life, make a 1/1 blue fish, 4 to make a treasure token. 2 sacrifice a token, draw is probably okay. Basically, it turns all your tokens into clues, so they cost 3 because you have to pay 2 and this. Interesting. But yeah, the whole like cutesy cottagecore stuff doesn't technically really appeal to me. Like I like dark, creepy stuff, so I'm not like, like look how adorable this is. Like I'm not super into it, but just a fantasy set at all just has me excited for the set. It's probably my favorite set in so long, just because we've had so much weird, New Capenna and Karlov Manor. I don't think there's any fedoras in this entire set. I haven't seen one. There might be, but I don't know. So that's nice. No trench coats and fedoras is a big plus. The infamous Cruel Claw deals combat damage to a player, exiles cards from the top, and you may cast that card, discarding a card rather than paying its cost. That's really interesting, actually. So it's free, but you're basically swapping a card in your hand. It's the top of your library. I think that's actually pretty cool. And it has Menace, so you can attack with it easier without it getting blocked. Also, no Fedora, so that's a 10 out of 10 in my book. So far, we haven't seen the weird special guest replacing anything. Oh, this is being played in Red Aggro. I feel like Red Aggro is so redundant, like, in terms of recording. Do I need to make a Red Aggro video? But also, because I have such an introductory, kind of new player-focused mentality, I kind of like saying, here's how Red Aggro looks now, even if, we all know what Red Aggro does, but I like, kind of updating people on how decks have changed in the new meta. 1 mana 1/1, whenever a frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrel you control enters, put a counter on it. Okay, it reminds me of the Dryad that does that for each color, which has never been super popular. But again, that's probably really good in draft, right? Kidnap. Yeah, the frog mite was a weird thing, I guess. I don't know. Sure, wild card. Not gonna complain about that. Festival of Embers. That's so much text. During your turn, you may cast instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard, paying 1 life in addition to their other cost. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. You can pay to... Wait, what? Oh, you can sacrifice it if things going into your graveyard is relevant. So you have to pay their full cost and 1 life, but you get to cast anything from your graveyard. But they all go into exile, which makes sense. But if you cast a card from your hand, it doesn't go to your graveyard in the first place, right? So you can sacrifice it so you can start filling your graveyard again. So basically this lets you cast everything from your graveyard once, and then you need to sacrifice this, otherwise you get no more cards in your graveyard. 5 mana for that seems a lot, but it's probably okay. Weird that we have to have a card that has pay to sacrifice it, but yeah, it makes sense with what it does. Starfall Invocation. The art's kind of cool. Destroy all creatures. If a gift was promised, return a creature card, which is 1 card. Put it to the graveyard this way, to the battlefield under your control. And it doesn't have to be... Oh no, it does say your graveyard. Okay. So you blow up the board, and then you can let them draw to get one of your best creatures back. Actually seems fine. Blue-white control decks always have that one big finisher, right? So you can't board wipe once you get your finisher out, because you might only have like 2 or 3 in your deck. So being able to wipe the board and then get your big finisher back actually seems pretty good for 1 card. That seems fine. Another one of the Dawn Truces. We haven't seen any of the bats. I think a lot of them are common and uncommon, but there's 1 rare that I need. Whenever 1 or more rabbits, bats, birds, or mice you control enter scry, and this pumps everything. I mean, you could play this as a tribal rabbit card, right? You might not want to play it in bats, birds, and mice, but in a rabbit tribal deck, it's just a 2 mana 2/3 that pumps your other rabbits and scries. So that seems pretty good, actually. If tribal rabbits is a thing. Manifold Mouse. This is... Yes, this is also played in the like red aggro and mouse aggro decks. Very cool. Still haven't seen any of the bats. What the heck is this? It's a Grixis Commander. Whenever it or another rat enters, create a 1/1 black snail token. If you don't control a snail, okay, so you only get 1. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a snail you control. So it makes a snail. It doesn't make extra snails, but it starts pumping this snail. This would be good with, I don't know if people have forgotten, but the Rat King, I forget his name. Oh no. Am I disrespecting the Rat King? What's the Rat King's name? Wouldn't it be cool if we had a collection tab up here? Wouldn't that be cool? Lord Skitter. Because this makes a rat every turn, right? It was rat, right? Not mouse? I've already forgotten. Snail. How many snails can there be? Yeah, it's whenever a rat. So this with Lord Skitter is going to make a rat every turn, which in turn is going to get a counter on the snail every turn. It's kind of cool. Alright, back to the packs. I really need that rare bat. I think it's like a 3 mana 3/3. Okay, there's a rare rat. A rare bat. 3 mana 2/3 offspring. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. I don't think that's one of the good bats, but it's okay. It's a dark confident kind of. Seems fine. Seems very dangerous in a best of one red aggro world. But, you know, it is what it is. It's not the bat I want. Another wishing well that I didn't read either time I opened it. That's okay. What does this do? Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard and draw. Okay, looting every time you cast a spell. So you want this in spell slinging decks. Non-creature spells cost 1 less. So you have to pay 3 for it, but then things are cheaper. If a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2. Yeah, kind of like a burn, trying to chain burn spells. That's a is it spells card for sure. Thorn. Okay, we saw that. I can't believe it. 20 cards left. I just want my rare back, please. That's not it. Did I read this? If whenever one or more creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. So like flickering. That's cool. Return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So you can just bounce stuff for 2 to draw and then re-trigger enter the battlefield effects. But it's also going to be good with like a restoration angel type of flickering stuff. I actually think that's kind of cool. It's 2 mana 1/3, so we'll see how it pans out. That's a very cute rabbit. Two of them actually. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Oh, I saw this because the wording is so weird. It's so weird. So it puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control other than the creature that triggered the ability. It's very odd. I think the reason they did this is because it feels bad if someone hits something with a burn spell and then it gets a counter, right? Like say someone deals 1 damage to this. It's going to trigger and then you have the option to put a counter on itself, which then neutralizes the burn spell. That was a major problem with Lurgoyf, is that people would forget that the burn spell they used to kill it would go to the graveyard and pump the Lurgoyf. And I think they're trying to avoid people feeling bad for doing that, but it makes the creature kind of weirdly complex. That just raises the skill ceiling, but yeah, they're trying to make the thing not feel bad. Anyway, talking about the last card that's not even on screen anymore. This is a 2 mana 2/1. If you lost a life this turn, it gets Flying and Vigilance. Whenever you gain life, it gets a counter. When it dies, it moves its counter to something else. Pretty cool. It's like a Voice of the Blessed kind of for bats. That is one of the cards I'm looking for. Just need 3 more of those, please. I've seen this art. It has Offspring, adds mana, can put counters on itself. Sure. I like Offspring. Offspring looks like a cool ability. There's a danger of just like having too many. That's some glorious art. What the heck? I feel like there's so many tokens in Magic, but I think it's pretty cool. 3 mana 2/4 Death Touch. You may look at the top card of your library. You can play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library. So the opposite of that Karlov Manor card that only casts small things. Also surveils for free, just for tapping. I feel like that's probably going to be the most important aspect of this, actually, is the tap surveil 2. I mean, that's a lot of filtering. That's a lot of graveyard filling for like those Lurgoyf graveyard self-mill decks. Actually, I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it's soul tie, so it's in the color of those self-mill decks, right? We have that land again. That seems interesting. It's not a bat, though. That's the problem with that card. Serpine Lynx, 4 mana 5/4. Players can't gain life damage. Well, that kind of turns off my my bats. Damage can't be prevented. When it enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. I feel like that's actually playable. It's definitely sideboard playable in aggro decks, right? It turns off life gain and it punishes like 3-color decks. I feel like this is a sideboard top-end finisher for red aggro. Turning off life gain after turn 4 is a bit late though. You'd want to turn off life gain at like turn 2, but I mean, red aggro being able to turn off life gain is pretty important, so yeah, I think that's sideboard playable. It has to be, right? I would say it is. Probably, maybe, I don't know. Innkeeper's Talent, get a counter every combat. Permanents you control with counters on them have ward 1, that's pretty good. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, double them, yeah, seems alright. Seems acceptable. Enchantments that add counters every turn seem to be underrated, but they really add up, right? We should have learned that from these white creatures that have come out recently that put counters every turn. They really snowball. This card does look cool. I don't want to read it all, but if you have a bunch of lands, it pumps everything, and it can find lands if you play defensive creatures. That's to say, creatures with higher toughness than their power. This card again, I think this is going to be a pretty good board weapon. Certain blue-white control decks, that's blue-white control decks that are relying on one big creature to win the game. Being able to board wipe after you play your game finisher could be relevant. It seems like the type of card you play like one of. We got that guy again. 8 more cards. I need, I mean, technically we could get a full playset of our 2 bats. I think there's 2 of them. But we need to hurry up and open them. That's not it though. I've opened like 2 or 3 copies of lots of cards. There's not the cards that I want. There it is. Yes, that's 2. We got 1 copy of each. 3 mana, 3/3 flying vigilance. Whenever a bat you control attacks, gain 1. When it attacks, you can pay 2 and 2 life. When you do, return a non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So bats are all about draining and gaining. So and it's a 3 mana, 3/3 flying vigilance. So it's a pretty aggressive flyer. I like it. The bats deck, from what I saw, reminded me of like Spirits and Explorer, which is one of my favorite decks ever. But instead of like, there's less blue control because it's a black-white deck, and it's more of a drain and gain, fast aggro flying deck, kind of like Rogues as well. Right, these cards are really interesting because there's lots of versatility, right? You can choose up to 5, so you could pay 6, draw 5 cards, right? You could choose draw a card 5 times. You know, like any combination, there's lots of combinations you could do. I think it's pretty cool. When I first saw it, I didn't understand it. I was like, why would you do that? I didn't realize you could choose the same mode more than once. But yeah, it's pretty good. A 2 mana 3/3 double green. So we got a green Stompy card. As long as there are 4 or more card types among exiled cards, gets +4/+4, and it can pay 1 to exile target card from a graveyard. Wow, so this is like a Scavenging Ooze in standard. 2 mana 3/3, hate the graveyard. It gets big eventually. I think it's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I like this a lot actually. Seems really good in like green Stompy as a main board, sideboard hate thing. We got Beza, the Bounding Spring. 4 mana 4/4. When it enters, create a treasure token. If an opponent controls more lands than you, you gain 4 life if an opponent has more life than you. Okay, so you get treasure if they have more lands. You get life if they have more life. You get fish if they have more creatures. You draw cards if the opponent has more lands. And it's a 4 mana 4/5. I think that is totally reasonable. Probably played in like blue-white control decks, right? Probably a sideboard piece, but like against red aggro, it's a 4 mana 4/5, so it blocks really well. Probably going to gain 4 life. It's probably going to make 2 1/1s. It's not going to draw. It might not make treasures, but I mean, that's a great big swingy play against red aggro if you're a slow blue-white deck. It doesn't look like we're going to get play sets of our bats. I can't believe it. How many rares do I have now? 30 rare, 44 mythic. Nice. Okay. Well, we can craft them. Scavenger's Talent. So it makes food. When you sacrifice stuff, it mills, and then it gets something out of the graveyard. I mean, it's pretty cheap. It's pretty weird, though. I don't know. It's kind of like a do-nothing, but then can be game-winning, potentially. Alright, well, these aren't guaranteed to have a ton. I don't know the breakdown. They'll have some Bloomburrow cards, but not the ones I want. So we get Saheeli, Ill-Timed Explosion, Iridescent Vine Lasher, Urzim, Tender Wild Guide, and Blood Splatter Analysis. No bats. but we still have some opportunities here. Alright, Double Down, Asinine Antiques, Innkeeper's Talent, Kellen, which I apparently didn't have, Italian. Oh my god, we got another one. Okay, it worked. We did get one in these packs. I was expecting it. Nice. Looks like 2 Bloomburrow cards every pack. Yeah, I don't know the breakdown. There's a certain number you get every time. 2 again. 2 vault cards. 3 vault cards. Or whatever, treasure, whatever these were called. And that thing. So I got 2 of these. That's good. I don't know if this is being played in anything, but this is pretty cool. And I didn't open Thunder Junction, so I'm getting lots of firsts for that set. I didn't open Thunder Junction or Karlov Manor because I just didn't like the sets and I didn't want to support it by giving them money for it, so I didn't make a big fuss about it, right? I didn't make a whole video saying I don't like the sets or whatever, I just didn't give them money. But I did this time because I like the set. Byway Barterer. Expand 4, you may discard your hand if you do draw 2 cards. Okay. So, and that's every time you expand 4, interesting. And then we got the pseudo scavenging ooze thing, which I actually think is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I kind of like it. No bats. No bats. Got this again. That's good, because I do want to try the red aggro deck with this. Rakdos for Forensic Gadgeteer. Krinko. Got another one of these. And a Shadowy Backstreet from Karlov Manor. Alright, well that's my packs. Something I like to do. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a collection tab up here? I don't know, am I crazy? Let's see what I didn't open in rares and mythics. And still a lot. You don't get a ton of cards when you get 50. You get 50 cards. I mean rares and mythics, but it really helps kickstart the collection, I think. Let's see, did I get play sets of anything? I didn't. Did I get 3 of anything? I got 3 of the land, so that's good. I don't have to craft them, I guess. 2 of all of these, so this is good. This is good. I've seen this played. Got 2 of my bats. Would have liked a couple more. And I think this card also looks pretty good. Probably some stuff I didn't read. And then one ofs. I got one of my. I mean, it's legendary, right? So you probably only play 3. So I need 2 of the other card and 2 of these. That's 4 rare wild cards, and I think I started with 20, so I got 11. So that's fine. I can craft the bat deck. Oh, this 2 is rare. Yeah, I think I want these 2, but that's fine. All right, that's it. Anyway, I think the set is really cool. I'm just glad to have a high fantasy set. I would say we're gonna jump into standard and play with these cards, but we're not, because we're gonna be doing starter deck upgrades. Literally, after I finish recording this video, I'm gonna go record 2 of those, so there's at least 2 coming soon, and definitely more obviously on the way, so we'll be doing starter deck upgrades for a while, and then I'll get into maybe playing with some of these cards on the channel. I don't know, we'll see. Plenty of stuff coming. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.